Stash Brothers or Stash Bros is a Super Mario Bros. Based plush channel that uploads a variety of Mario plush adventures. Their YouTube channel currently sits at 49.1 thousand subscribers and over 25 million views. They got their start back in 2009 and have uploaded over 100 videos to the site. Their most popular video being Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon Luigi Time, uploaded 7 years ago and sits at 2.3 million views. But their second most popular video was uploaded 3 years earlier. That would be the second of a trilogy of videos simply titled Who Killed Toadsworth. That trilogy of videos is what I will be talking about and explaining to you today. I think the easiest way to do this would be to start from the beginning.
Once, many blue moons ago.
Wait. I meant beginning as in the beginning of the trilogy of videos, not the timeline that I will be explaining later. I feel like it makes more sense to explain the videos before I get into that.
It's just a normal day in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Bowser eats a magic vacuum suit.
The video starts out by explaining to us that the characters of Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, and Diddy Kong have all received invitations to a Halloween party from Toadsworth. But his party takes place in a mysterious mansion that none of them have ever seen before. Mario's a bit skeptical at first, but in the end, every single character shows up thanks to a certain something on the invitation that grabs their attention. One of these being that fat people are allowed. This attracts Wario, which then leads Bowser to believe that Mario will be there. So in the end, everyone ends up going to the mysterious party in the mysterious mansion. They all enter the mansion and expect to see something spooky, and while they don't at first, they eventually do. I don't know if you could count this as spooky, but it is to them. A bolt of lightning then shows up and Toadsworth arrives. And while he has a demonic voice at first, this is instantly changed once he flickers the lights on and a happy birthday banner is seen on the wall. This may come as a shock to you, but this will actually play a very important role in the future of this video. As the entire crew begins to party to, I believe, Kevin MacLeod music, something then goes awry. Toadsworth inexplicably dies, everything falls off the wall, and the lights shut off. DK then laughs about it.
No, DK, death is bad.
Toadsworth's body then disappears into the night, as the cast is confused on what to do. The room then spins around, and while this may just be a visual effect, it could have totally happened to the cast. And then a mysterious blue orb shows up. That mysterious blue orb, while hard to tell, is actually Boo, who will become very important in later videos. Wario then asks to leave because he's got a date with somebody, and the Boo lets him go, but when Luigi asks the same thing, he straight up kills him.
Luigi!
It's clear the ghost isn't playing fair, and this makes much more sense when Donkey Kong gets decapitated because he complained about Luigi's death to the Boo. With Donkey Kong's death out of the way, the Boo makes his intentions clear. He wants his guests to go find their rooms, and presumably leave them there to die, assuming that there's only a limited stock of food in the house. Even then, that's being lenient enough to let them leave their rooms. It's clear the Boo wants them to die in this house. Yet again, this fact will become important as we go further down the series. Once upstairs, Mario wants Bowser to join him and Yoshi in a way out. Bowser clearly disagrees with this, and that's a smart move, sort of. He just witnessed Donkey Kong and Luigi die to the hands of the Boo. I feel like opposing him would be a bad idea. Yoshi wanders off on his own, Mario and Bowser find Boo's hideout, Boo kills Bowser, then after attempting to become his friend, kills Mario. This will become much more important later on in the series. At the end of the video, we cut back to Yoshi, who's wandering into a bathroom. He ends up finding a very alive and well Toadsworth, and it's revealed that this whole scheme was actually improvised by Toadsworth to sell real estate. This pisses Yoshi off enough to the point where he straight up kills Toadsworth, leaving the death of the old Toad behind as he walks out of the building. Or so it seems, after Yoshi complains that the fact he's been trying to get real estate sold to him for the manyth time this month, he ends up getting shot in the head. Now, at first I speculated that this was his own doing, but his scream at the end makes me believe otherwise. Something killed him and ran off before the camera could catch it, obviously being done on purpose. I have a strong feeling this was Boo, making sure he killed everyone in the house that day, along with Toadsworth, who was actually killed by Yoshi, leaving everyone in the house dead. Also, I forgot to mention, but Wario also dies, which also means that everyone that entered the house died that day. The next video starts with Toadsworth mailing new invitations for this year's birthday and Halloween bash to everyone who showed up last year, and some new faces for this year. Luigi is highly against going to this Halloween bash, not because he died last year, but because he gets an uneasy feeling around the house. Mario doesn't seem to notice or feel the same thing Luigi's feeling, and they end up going anyway. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong also receive an invitation, but Donkey Kong isn't afraid to go because of what happened the year before, but because he remembers a very similar party where there was no punch, rather than him dying. It's very clear that his memories from last year were either altered or erased entirely, whether that be on purpose or not. Wario and now Waluigi also receive an invitation, with Wario being skeptical, but Waluigi bringing up the fact that since Toadsworth is so old, he wouldn't even realize that he's been robbed. So Waluigi and Wario go for the sole purpose of stealing his money. The only one who's able to avoid the curse, as the narrator calls it, is Yoshi, remembering the fact that he killed Toadsworth over the fact he was selling real estate, but very clearly not remembering the fact that he was killed at the very end. Goomba, Petey Piranha, and Koopa are the only three who actually show up that didn't receive invitations. They end up showing up anyway, and let's just say that Koopa plays a very important role in this video. Another startling revelation is that it turns out Luigi remembers all of the events of last year, and this may actually occur with everyone, but they're choosing to regret the fact that they died, and that going to that house is a good idea. They all ignore Luigi's profuse claims that they're going to die again, and wander into the house anyway. Luigi sticks by his claim that going in there is a bad idea until he hears Mario's screams. Rushing in, he realizes that Mario died, but it turns out that he didn't die, he simply dropped the ketchup and screamed about it for some reason. After a bit of back and forth baits that Toadsworth is a murderer, it is revealed that the steak that they were originally going to eat is gone. Then, after all the commotion, the lights cut out. After a scream, Toadsworth ends up dying, and when the lights come on, it reveals his lifeless body. Or so we think. This will come into play later on. Boo then shows up, presumably the same one from last year, and tells everyone that Toadsworth did not die of natural causes, but rather he was murdered, and was murdered by someone in this very room. Boo leaves it up to everyone in the room to figure out who exactly killed Toadsworth, with Boo torturing them in the afterlife if they guess the correct one. But if they don't manage to succeed by midnight, they will all be murdered and suffer with Boo. Mario says that they should go around and ask people what they know, starting with himself and asking what happened to the steak. Waluigi says that Toadsworth could have potentially eaten it. Bowser then clears up that he's the one who ate it, saying that he saw it and he ate it. Goomba then uses this one fact to blame Bowser for killing Toadsworth. He states, "Bowser, you killed Toadsworth," and Bowser dies. Luigi then states that it's entirely possible that the house is exclusively killing the people who didn't do it. While a strange thought, it's the only thing they really have to go off of, and Mario tests this theory by blaming Diddy for killing Toadsworth.
Diddy killed Toadsworth.
Mario's excuse is that he wanted to test the hypothesis, and also because he hates Diddy.
One, I wanted to see if your hypothesis was right, and two, I hate Diddy.
Koopa then states that it's entirely possible that Luigi killed Toadsworth because he is angry at him for thinking that Mario died. Luigi then clears up the fact that he was angry at Nintendo, not Toadsworth, and that Mario just thinks the idea was stupid.
And look, no punctures, no blood, nothing. Children could have broken something or had a heart attack for all we know.
Peach then takes the body of Toadsworth and has the intention of bringing it to a hospital so they can get it examined and then come back before midnight. It's safe to say that this doesn't exactly go to plan. Luigi then starts laughing his ass off, thinking that this is the most hilarious shit in the world because Peach is such a dumb bitch. He then gets himself killed because of this.
He had it coming.
Donkey Kong then attempts to get him out of this game by saying that he killed Toadsworth. This ends up working, but it's so slow and painful that he asks Mario to kill him, and he kills him. This then spurs up an argument between Petey and Mario, stating that you shouldn't really kill anyone based on what they tell you. Mario then gets uber pissed because Petey began to blame Goomba for stating that he killed Toadsworth out of disappointment for the steak. Wario then accidentally gets Petey and Goomba killed by saying they did it. This leaves our heroes with less than 20 minutes of time left, and they've lost all hope. Mario states that he doesn't think Koopa could have done it because he's too innocent, and states that he trusts Wario enough to the point to where he wouldn't have killed Toadsworth. Mario then discovers something.
And I'm sorry, Koopa, that your first Halloween in the kingdom was your last. It must suck to die unimportant. Important. Unimportant. Important. Unimportant. Important! Where have I heard that before?
Hey! You don't care.
Yeah, you're right. I just wanted to feel important.
I just wanted to feel important. I just wanted to feel important. Feel important.
Koopa did it! It all makes sense. Koopa hates Halloween, so he took it out on Toadsworth, peed his pants to look innocent, and barely talked all night. And look at his shell. See that scratch? During the plague, Koopa must have frozen his shell right on the Toadsworth's head. His bones backfired, cracked Koopa's broken shell. You did it! You did it, Koopa!
Mario's claims are proven correct as Koopa shoots him straight in the chest. Koopa then goes on a rant on how his birthday is also on Halloween, but nobody cares about him enough to the point to where he's sitting at home blowing out his own candles. Since Toadsworth took all the spotlight, he proceeded to kill him to get revenge. Wario then attempts to sing happy birthday to Toad, but this backfires. Wario hears the sound of a gunfire, but instead of the bullet wound being at him, it's in Koopa. Midnight strikes, and Wario is free to walk away. Yoshi meets him at the door, asking if it was real estate. Wario gives a somber "not this time," and they both walk away. As you've clearly seen, we've just went over Toadsworth House of Horrors and Who Killed Toadsworth. These two videos roughly round out to about 30 minutes worth of footage, condensed for you in about 13 minutes long. Now, there is a third video, The Curse of Toadsworth Mansion. This is where the timeline I talked about earlier comes into play. Instead of explaining this video like I did Who Killed Toadsworth and Toadsworth House of Horror, I will instead be explaining the video as the events occur in the timeline I've constructed. So, without further ado, this is the semi-official timeline of The Curse of the King. At least 100 years before the events of Toadsworth House of Horrors, the kingdom was ran by a greedy dictator. This guy would feast upon the mushrooms that grew upon their lands, which is why the kingdom received the name the Mushroom Kingdom. The king would always manage to kill anyone who attempted to cross over the border to the neighboring kingdom, the Bean Bing Kingdom. In order to cross the border, many would try to do the border jump. This would always lead in failure, as the king would manage to catch and kill them on sight. This king would then loot their bodies, stealing all the money they had on them and running away with them. In the Bean Bean Kingdom, the age of 21 is very important, which is why at the age of 21, Peasley received a map that he would have to guard with his life. This occurred with anyone who entered the age of 21, and that was royalty. This map that he would guard with his life contained the route to a secret treasure in a haunted mansion. One day, Peaslee attempted the border jump, but instead of succeeding, he ran straight into the king. The king was ready to kill, but Peaslee offered the map he was supposed to guard with his life. The king was already well on his way towards the mansion before Peaslee could warn him about it, and the king would eventually open up a chest which swallowed up his body and soul. Peaslee was also taken, but only his body. His soul was rested within the mansion, unable to leave. Toadsworth, 100 years later, then proceeded to buy the house, making him the perfect vessel for Peaslee to return. Peaslee could only return on Halloween though, meaning that he would have to wait until then. Toadsworth also had to die. The only reason he never did in Toadsworth House of Horrors was because there were others that weren't involved in the curse at the house. But since they died in the house, they were now wrapped in with the curse. Halloween is also the reason why they keep returning every year. The king's soul, essence, whatever it may be, is what's reviving them and bringing them back to that very mansion every year. When Toadsworth died in Who Killed Toadsworth, Peaslee took over his body. He'd then have to wait for Toadsworth to die on Halloween for the curse to fully take effect, which is why Toadsworth has whited out eyes and is taken over by Peaslee in the Curse of Toadsworth Mansion. But before any of the events of Who Killed Toadsworth and the Curse of Toadsworth Mansion could occur, Toadsworth had to die in Toadsworth's House of Horrors. It seems like Toadsworth was truly going to survive in Toadsworth's House of Horrors, but thanks to Yoshi, the curse could finally begin. Toadsworth's body was now entirely possible to become a host, which is why in Who Killed Toadsworth, Peaslee takes over his body. The entirety of Who Killed Toadsworth happens, they come back the next day, and then the events of Toadsworth's Mansion can occur. Now, this year, it really is the fact that they are afraid of Toadsworth Mansion that Luigi doesn't want to go.
I don't want to risk anything.
Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Diddy Kong all arrive at Toadsworth Mansion and notice that there's something completely off with Toadsworth. Toadsworth, who is currently possessed by Peaslee, wholeheartedly believes that either Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, or Diddy Kong is being inhabited by the king. Doing something similar to what he did last year, Donkey Kong says that he's the king, and then Toadsworth kills him, which doesn't really work out. Donkey Kong's soul flies out and not the king's. Peaslee then reveals that he's been taking over Toadsworth's body and that he isn't truly Toadsworth. He then blames Luigi, saying that he's the king. Luigi turns it around on Diddy Kong, and this gets him killed. Earlier in the day, Bowser had kidnapped Peach, and while it was raining on his way back to the castle, he decided that he would take refuge in the basement of Toadsworth's mansion, not realizing that this is, well, Toadsworth's mansion. Yoshi's also here, I guess. I kind of forget how he got here. But Yoshi's actually being reasonable in stating that Toadsworth was possessed and has nothing to do with real estate. Amazingly enough, Wario and Waluigi are also here for the same reason they came last year. They're here to rob Toadsworth, and the chest right there catches Waluigi's attention. Waluigi opens the chest and unleashes the black smoke being hidden in it for years. It kills Waluigi and then enters Wario's body. Peaslee then explains the events that occurred earlier and what I explained before. The only reason he explained this to them is because Mario promised that they would give him the king. Luigi reveals to Peaslee that he sadly did not have the king.
We'll have to get back to you on that one.
Mario hides in the basement, finding Bowser, Peach, Yoshi, and basically everyone else.
I'm sick and tired of having to remember all the horrors of this curse. I'm sick and tired of it coming
You caught me! Really?
Peasley has just explained to us that since everyone got themselves wrapped up in the curse, until they all die, they can't end the curse, meaning Peasley is trapped in the mansion forever and cannot rest. An easy claim against this is that everyone did die in Toadsworth's House of Horrors, but what people don't realize is that Wario didn't die inside the mansion. So since he didn't die in the mansion, the curse still goes on. And since Wario didn't die at all in Who Killed Toadsworth, and Yoshi just flat out did not show up, everyone wrapped up in the curse didn't die, and it cannot end. This is why Peasley is out to kill everyone and the king, so he can finally rest and be free from the curse. But since the king is in Wario, even if he were to kill everyone in that basement, it wouldn't have mattered because the king is still out there. The king announces that he is the new ruler of the world, and anyone who dare oppose him will be murdered along with everyone and everything they love. This then causes Peasley to realize that Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Diddy Kong were truly telling the truth when it came to the king and his whereabouts. Peasley then throws the body off the cliff, leaving Toadsworth to die, and what happens to Peasley's soul is beyond me, but I can only assume this means that he's passed on, whether he's resting well or not. Mario then tells his friends that they might have all been killed in the past, Chain Chomp saying that he doesn't remember dying, but that was because Chain Chomp wasn't around. He then says that they have to go to the king, and not only kill themselves, but kill Wario. This would release the king's soul, and since everyone dies, this also ends the curse. With Boo dying on a date that wasn't October 31st, this leads Mario to believe that his hypothesis is correct. Anyone who dies on a date that isn't October 31st will become a Boo. But if you die on October 31st, you become a soul. To my knowledge, this means that anyone before these events that died on October 31st is a soul wandering the earth. And with Mario and his gang going to kill themselves and Wario, this means that any soul that is wandering the earth will be set free and able to rest. This is just a theory though, this is only based on what the videos are presenting and nothing much else. Mario eventually gets everyone to agree to their plan to go kill Wario and themselves. They all head over to the Mushroom Castle, where Wario is giving orders to various people.
Wario's the king?
When they arrive, Mario's initially against the idea of killing Wario, since he had no idea that Wario's the host for the king, but Peach eventually gets him to kill him, and this sets all of the souls free. With everyone dead, the curse is now broken, and everyone is soon to return home. Mario ends up finding Luigi, Toadsworth, and the rest of their friends. They're all about to go home, and in the distance you can hear Peasley saying, "Thank you." Before I give my final send-off to the video, I want to go through the timeline just once more so I can explain it to you, yet again, just one last time. It all begins with the terror that is the king of the Mushroom Kingdom, a greedy dictator who's willing to kill any of his citizens just for their money and eating mushrooms along the way. At the age of 21, the prince of the neighboring kingdom, Peasley, is given a map to hold on to with his life. This is something that's been happening for untold generations so that the Peasley family could prevent a curse unleashing itself upon the world. One day, Peasley decides that he's going to do the border jump, something that citizens have been failing for generations. During his attempt, Peasley runs into the king, and instead of being punished, Peasley gives the king the map. Without thinking, the king immediately heads towards the destination, with Peasley being unable to tell him of the curse that lies inside. The king bursts in and opens the chest inside, unleashing a massive cloud of black smoke that engulfs the king. The prince is also engulfed, but unlike the king, his soul isn't trapped within the chest. Peasley's soul is instead trapped within the house, unable to leave and only returning on October 31st. Years and years later, Toadsworth buys the mansion, but doesn't open the chest inside. With Peasley still inside the mansion, his only chance at returning and ending the curse is possessing Toadsworth. This can only occur if Toadsworth dies on October 31st. Luckily for Peasley, Toadsworth just so happened to be shot and killed by Yoshi on October 31st. Toadsworth then dies again, coincidentally, on another October 31st, this time being killed by Koopa. This gives Peasley enough time for Toadsworth to be possessed. Peasley would then have to wait another year so that he could gather everyone back to the mansion so he could kill them all, including the king. While killing the king would set Peasley's soul free, Killing everyone involved with the curse would break the curse and allow anyone else who's been affected by it to also be free. I theorize that anyone who doesn't die on October 31st is destined to become a Boo in the afterlife, but anyone who dies on October 31st will become a soul that is forced to wander the earth due to the curse. This is why Peasley seems totally fine with killing anyone accused of having the king inside them, whether they do or don't. This is because Peasley gets rid of at least one person involved with the curse, making future plans a lot easier. After Peasley essentially throws himself away from the situation, it's up to anyone that's wrapped up within the curse to challenge the king themselves. Mario then comes up with the idea that if they all kill each other along with the king, the curse will be broken and they'll return to Earth as normal people. What comes up next backs my theory a little bit. Boo states that he died on a day that wasn't October 31st, and Mario states that you'll become a Boo if you don't die on Halloween. And while it's never thoroughly stated what happens when you do, it's safe to say that you'll become a soul wandering the earth forever. They enact on Mario's plan, running up to the king, killing him and themselves. They wake up in some sort of purgatory, with Luigi telling Mario that they're all about to go home. And since they all died on Halloween, they're all returning to Earth, but not as ghosts this time, as full-on people, because the curse is now broken.
Thank you, Mario!
And this is where the Curse of the King saga ends. Everyone's soul is able to rest, and our heroes return to Earth. But there is one thing I want to point out. On Thanksgiving a couple years ago, Stash Bros uploaded a video titled Who Killed Princess Peach? Simply looking at the title, you may think that this is connected to Who Killed Toadsworth, but it's actually connected to the entire Curse of the King trilogy. And not only that, but the Curse of the King trilogy is connected to an entirely different trilogy as well. This is what I like to call the Thanksgiving trilogy. To make a long story short, it follows the Crazy Turkey attempting to exact revenge on Mario and Luigi for making turkey every year for Thanksgiving. In the Curse of Toadsworth's mansion, you can see this.
You'll be a tailor. Next, you'll be a cook.
The king is seen giving a turkey the job of being a cook. Whether this is the Crazy Turkey from the Thanksgiving trilogy or not, this still makes the event for Who Killed Princess Peach much more possible. During the events of Who Killed Princess Peach, not only does Peach die, but Toad and Luigi do as well. In the moment, everyone in the room assumes that they're just being killed by the person who killed Princess Peach. It's then revealed that Princess Peach was never dead to begin with. Believing Luigi and Toad were really dead, she ridicules everyone in the room for going to such lengths. Mario reveals that nobody in the room were the ones that killed Luigi and Toad, stating that Toad was poisoned and Luigi was beheaded out of nowhere. Peach questioning exactly what happened, the castle then begins to shake. The culprit behind it all reveals himself, the Crazy Turkey from the Thanksgiving trilogy. A manila folder falls on screen with the date Thursday, November 26, 2009. While not the day the first video of the Thanksgiving trilogy was uploaded, it was Thanksgiving, which explains why these events took place. It reveals that the turkey was the man who cut off the power, despite Peach thinking it was convenience. It's also revealed that he's the one who poisoned Luigi's fish tacos, subsequently killing Toad. And to finish it all off, he's the one who threw the knife, decapitating Luigi. Succeeding in getting the revenge of all his turkey brethren, he laughs at the camera and the video ends. So, what is the video order you're supposed to watch these in? Well, there it is, right on screen. That's how you're supposed to watch them if you truly care. Now, the reason I have Curse of Toadsworth Mansion third, rather than first, is because I think the exposition dump is a good realization in explaining how the events of the previous two videos occurred. It doesn't really explain what happens in the Turkey trilogy, but it does explain what happens in the Curse of the King trilogy. And that's about it. I talked about 7 videos today, sort of. I kind of quickly wrapped up 3 of them, so I mostly talked about 4 videos with 3 more sprinkled in there. I fully explained Toadsworth's House of Horrors, Who Killed Toadsworth, The Curse of Toadsworth Mansion, and Who Killed Princess Peach. And I'm really happy I did. I love, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I loved plush videos. Those were my life back in the early 2010s. People who made them, I was all over them. And sadly nowadays, that's not really the case. At least the super popular ones I used to watch. one of them sadly being Stash Bros, as their last video was uploaded just about a year ago, if not more than that. I haven't checked it in a second. I kinda don't want to, because it hits like a truck settling in that one of your favorite YouTubers doesn't make content as often as they used to. And I can understand why. Some people like to take a lot of time and putting effort into their videos. Take JonTron, for example. He won't upload for months on end and then come out with this really big, really well done video. And then sometimes people just fall out of doing YouTube. They want to do other things with their lives. And I totally understand both sides of the spectrum. So, Stash Bros, if you're out there, thank you. You gave my childhood a lot of fond memories and made life a lot less boring. And if you want to continue the Curse of the King saga, even though it's very well wrapped up and you did a really good job at doing that, I wouldn't mind covering future episodes. So, without further delay, thank you all for watching what is now my longest video on this dumb site. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.